I'm doing very well. Busy day as always, but that's a good thing for us all. So I'm very happy to have it.
Oh, you guys are like seriously like I'm like I've got two. I do like two AMAs in a day, and I'm like on a drip at the end of the day. And you guys have got what, five, six today? It's insane.
Okay.
Yeah, man, 5 today. And these partnerships that I secured today as well, once I announced them, mind blown for everyone. Super humbling for me. I am so excited for this journey, and I'm glad to be able to do it alongside MDB and the Godfather Amina.
Where's Bran? Bran's like the best hype man ever.
Yeah, I think he's taking a break here. We have 5 of these today since it's a smaller pitch. I think he's going to take a few minutes here, recoup a little bit, and then we'll kind of bounce into the next one.
Yeah, very good. Smaller pitch. Oh, you mean in terms of a shorter pitch? I was going to say we're up to nearly 70 people in the audience. It's a good crowd today.
Oh, yeah, I just mean in time. We've done, I think our last one was like 70 minutes or so today, something like that. I'm just talking about time associated with it.
Yeah, he's Mina. I don't think you listened in to the AMA. He's or maybe you did. Like Bran, he's from London. He's
all of it. Didn't catch all of it. I
top
caught all of it.
Yeah.
Cool. So now that we're filling up a bit in the audience, so just to give everyone a bit of an overview. So obviously this is our second Mega AMA that we are hosting. It does feel a bit sad to do it without Apex. But I think he's gone on holiday, hasn't he? He's away.
In Ibiza.
Oh, all right, for some, living the life in Ibiza. So it's myself and Godfather hosting today. So hopefully we do it as much justice as I'm sure Apex would have done. So we're just going to start with a little bit of an introduction for those that don't know MDB from the Godfather about us and what we do. And then we'll jump straight into the sort of mini AMAs for each of the projects. So they'll have sort of 15 minutes to do a bit of an elevator pitch, and then you guys can ask questions. You can either raise your hand and ask questions, although for time, it's probably better if we do it via the AMA channel. It'll probably be a bit quicker, and we'll probably be able to get a few more questions in for each project if we do it that way, rather than have too many people on the stage and then we run over time massively. We did run a bit over last time, but not too much. We managed to keep it quite in check, to be fair. And then very generously, each project has also said they will give something towards a giveaway. So I'll confirm details of that at the end. It will be through Twitter. And yeah, there's loads of prizes. Each project has given a prize. So I'll confirm what that is at the end, and then run the Twitter giveaway probably for 24 hours, and then draw the winner. So all exciting stuff. So I'll hand over to you, Godfather, if you will. Danny, I don't have to call you Godfather anymore. Keep forgetting that's exciting. I hate calling you Godfather. I'll hand over to Danny, and he can give a little bit of an elevator pitch about MDB for anyone that's not from our community here, and then we'll jump straight to Shiplord after that. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you very much. And I feel like I've done this elevator pitch a million times now, but probably still not got it down. So for those people that are new to MDB, if you're new in the community, thank you for being here first of all. Really looking forward to the event today and the contribution that everybody's making to it. So thank you. The elevator pitch of MDB stands for Make DeFi Better. Ultimately, I've been an investor within the space for some time, and I think there's huge opportunities within DeFi. I think Shiplord, he's somebody that we've spoken at length about this as well. There's huge opportunity. There's very loyal communities. There's good people within the industry, and that opportunity quite often is wasted, I think. So, and that's wasted by unsustainable protocols, quite often by maybe teams that don't have the best interest, or maybe teams just without the right level of experience. So I suppose slightly frustrated with the market, I said, you know what, I'm going to quit my day job. I was a chief revenue officer in a software business in a startup, and previously worked for sort of multiple Fortune 500 businesses at manager and director level. And I just said, I walked in and said to my missus, I'm going to quit my job. And she, once she'd sort of like picked herself up off the floor, and I kind of explained it to her, and she still didn't really get it. But here I am, and ultimately, MDB is kind of my brainchild, and I wanted to design something that was sustainable. We analysed sort of like the major risks within the market, so the things that usually kill a project. Quite often, if I'm honest, I think we've got some fantastic projects here today, but we all know, it's an unregulated space, and quite often it's the team themselves who are like, okay, well, we're certainly I get told off by Mina because she's quite a bit younger than I am. I'm certainly pushing the wrong end of my 30s, plenty of business experience and life experience. Most of the team have got, children, families and stuff like that. And I thought, okay, well, we can build something that's really sustainable. So that's number one. And then we want to build something that is financially sustainable. So ultimately, we invested our own capital. We launched MDB. We raised 1.8 million, and we split that 5 parts trust fund, 1 part liquidity, and that provides both a safety net and an engine for the protocol. So if everybody was to sell MDB, then basically the protocol would be able to buy and burn so much supply out of circulation that the protocol then would be stronger as a result of that huge crash, and we could move on and move forward. Now, without that situation, thinking more on the positive side, what MDB is able to do is to drive the growth of the protocol, because the trust fund is invested, it earns interest, and it strategically buys supply, and that supply is then burned. So hyper deflationary. In 3 months, we burned around, I think I got this wrong the other day actually. I think we're pushing sort of 14% of our supply burned in 3 months, and our goal really ultimately is to have an appreciating fund and appreciating supply, and if you divide the bigger fund out between less tokens, then ultimately you've got a protocol that's growing exponentially, and that's our goal. We have then, if you go to Xenia on our website, we've got a range of different assets. The idea is that MDB is a place where you can take a little bit of risk with MDB because it has some downside. You could lose, right? It can go down in price, but it is heavily backed, and the upside potential is probably demonstrated on the chart over the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks, because we were massively undervalued. But then we also have stable backed assets. So if you want to invest in MDB Plus, which is what we use as a pair for our liquidity pool, what Shiblord here will be using, and many other projects we're using, then ultimately you've got something that has utility within the space that you're able to invest in. It delivers really steady returns, averaging about 30% since launch. Dipped slightly, I think it's about 17% in the last 7 days, but with many more utilities coming on, it'll jump up. But I suppose the punchline really is that Xenia, and which is our financial platform, is a place where you can take your MDB, you can farm it, you can stake it, and it's also got this deflationary supply as well as this inflationary impact on the price from the trust fund. And then we've got stable backed assets. You've also got Phoenix Plus, which is a gamified version of MDB Plus, which is meant to have much higher APY, but it does have maximum 6% downside risk. So a little bit of risk there, but also much bigger upside potential. And then we'll finally launch Infinity, will be the last piece in the jigsaw in the next sort of 6-7 weeks. And Infinity will just be an absolute monster that is much more volatile than MDB, but it will drive much more value into the protocol. Aside from it being sort of a fantastic asset to speculate on, it will move up and down quite aggressively. And then really we'll be set that we've got that suite of assets where if you want to buy a share in the organisation that has huge long-term upside potential, then MDB's for you. If you'd like a stable backed asset with super safe returns, then we've got that. And if you'd like to go a little bit degen, where you can times 3 in a couple of days, but you could also see a 50% drop, then Infinity will complete sort of that framework. And ultimately that's MDB. I'll talk about the team actually. Our team's expanded quite significantly. We started off with a handful of people. Now we've just added a couple of people with some announcements to be coming out next week. So as an operational team, we're now expanded to around 7-8 people, and that's kind of MDB in a nutshell.
Cool. Thank you very much. What we'll do, because you are a little bit over time, is we'll probably save MDB questions till the end if any of the new members have questions. Otherwise, our community are crazy active and they will be probably responding to an AMA question section. Anyway, so Ship Lord, are you ready if we hand over to you?
Ready whenever you guys are.
Oh, let's go.
All right. Hey, so for everyone in here, my name is Neil, or Shiblord on the socials. I'm the founder and CEO of a project called ProtocolX. If you have not seen us, please go try to check us out. But the most basic of our understanding here, I'm supposed to be going into a little bit about what we are, right? I just don't want to kind of overstep. All right, cool. So yeah, we're primarily a rebase protocol launching on the Binance Smart Chain. So that's going to be a rebase aspect to that. There's some big news coming about where we might list our first LP there, big time as well. We partner with MDB for their capabilities with their token. Obviously, the tokenomics are phenomenal. The charts do not lie on that end. So we're going to develop this rebase protocol. Our pre-sale is actually tomorrow in just about 22 hours or so is when the pre-sale will begin. It'll be hosted through our website. We're going to have this rebase token. From there, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to bring out some revenue share NFTs to feed into this ecosystem and then expand that even further. We are very much so considering the sustainability variables of this project, as rebase protocols tend to have that inflationary issue. So we are strategically partnering with a variety of different projects out there in order to incentivize a positive pressure on our token price over time. We're going to facilitate high levels of buybacks and burns on a weekly basis and have a ton reinvested into the protocol to create ideally a point within a 12-month period of time where we will be literally sustainable, where we can buy back and burn the amount of tokens that are minted. And there's a variety of different ways that we're going through that. I don't really want to go through too much unless we have questions that I can, or I'll just keep rambling because as a Godfather and Mina both know, I will sit up here and talk for way over my limit if given the opportunity to.
Cool. So I don't know. I'm just trying to see what questions we've got. Let me just prompt people. Any questions?
Yeah, maybe if I could ask a question as well, I'd love, I think it's your pre-sale tomorrow. I would say first and foremost that any investment, invest in the team first, and obviously then do your due diligence and everything else. And, I think, I understand a bit of this one-to-one, but, what are your ambitions in this space? What would you like to achieve?
Yeah, so there's been a couple of things out there that have kind of guided us to how we created this project, but primarily I'm looking for an actual passive income stream here on a multiple level in a multi-integrated system in DeFi. And there's so much opportunity for that. And on top of that, we're networking with the various partnerships like with MDB, with great teams, great visions, great strategic approaches to how they incorporate it. So we're basically trying to build a new ecosystem in DeFi, because last year had a lot of nonsense in it, if we're all going to be honest with each other. So this time we can start building from the ground up, get through that little crash that we went through, and start really honing in on the important aspects of this. And I think that that's going to be in passive income. So in order to do that, we have this rebase protocol. We have all these buybacks and burns. There's going to be a decreasing APR each month for 12 months. And then at that 12-month mark, we're going to be at 0.5% daily APR for a token. That is a place that I can sit here and say I genuinely believe that I can meet that revenue demand via outside revenue sources to create that token to be able to burn a surplus if needed, compared to the mints that are happening on a daily, weekly, monthly, etc. basis. So providing that form of passive income with a variety of different ways to help incentivize a token price and grow the protocol, as well as with these NFT revenue share systems, which is going to give those who decide to mint the NFTs a direct percentage from what the business is bringing in, sent right back to them. It also gives them some voting rights in the future. I wouldn't call it a DAO by any means, but it's a good voice for the community. And there'll be some implementation of gamification with those NFTs in the longer term future. So there's going to be an entire ecosystem we're here based around passive income, based around security, based around transparency, and based around strategy that's going to help us succeed, not just as a crypto protocol, but as a business and as a partnership in a variety of different ways as we kind of network and work with each other here.
Cool. Thank you. Really detailed answer. You remind me a bit of Danny, actually, with how how you answer really thoroughly. So that's always good to hear, I think, from a team. Cool. So we've got a few questions coming in for you now. So you ready for me just to sort of fire away?
Yep, I'm good whenever.
Cool. So Dev123 asks, this is quite long, so I'll try and get it clear for you. Liquidity pools are used to facilitate decentralized financial lending, staking, and we have seen that liquidity has become an integral part of many ecosystems. Many projects run into liquidity problems. What liquidity system will you use to increase the token values?
Yeah, so it's actually a perfect question. So we've seen some others out there that have these liquidity management systems or services. So we're going to build one that's custom to us. And the way I want to structure this is a rising floor model. So basically that'll trade within the liquidity pool itself. As it gets a little bit higher towards our range, it'll start kind of pushing a little bit up further and further so that the floor ideally has a positive price pressure over time. In addition to that, we have 20% of our pre-sales immediately going to go to the LP. Immediately. That has to happen. I think that's the minimum baseline. If it's more, then it's more, but that's the minimum that we're going to put there, right? We also have various tokenomics within the buy and sales tax that'll feed that liquidity over time and constantly, because that is, like you mentioned, very, very, very important in these protocols here, because if you have strong liquidity, that gives a strong tokenomic value over time there, and it just is more secure for those who are trading within it. If they want to sell $10,000 worth because they've made some good money and there's a huge price impact, that's obviously a concern. So no good on that end. So we're going to keep incentivizing the LP with some of these the partnerships, like with MDB. Obviously that helps the pair that we're going to have on our own decks, but it also allows us to kind of expand our minds, and there's so much I want to release but I'm not allowed to, but there's should be a very high influx of volume on our tokens in the very early stages, which will allow us to very much so generate the LP that is needed to facilitate growth in these types of projects.
Sounds really interesting, particularly the part about sort of building your own management around it. I'm looking forward to seeing how you do that. Sounds good. It's not something I've seen necessarily before with the rising price floor sort of built into it. So super interesting. Okay, so TZ96 asks, are you planning to go deflationary in the future?
Yes, on the most simple answer, yes, it is an inflationary token and it'll continue to generate that yield. So the way we've structured it, I kind of went over it just briefly, but we're going to decrease at APR. It starts at 1.77% and then it decreases by 10% every month. So on month 12, that's when it'll stop decreasing. We'll be at 0.5% daily APR. So by definition, that's still an inflationary token. So one of our partners, Ego, if you haven't checked them out, I'm going to throw a quick shout out to Ego. Amazing project, amazing trading bot that they've built, which is what I'm going to go into here. So we're going to invest a very substantial portion into that trading bot right from day one. This is going to allow us to generate revenue for which we will be able to facilitate buybacks and burns, legitimate buybacks and burns, not just burning random tokens, but create that positive pressure in the immediate and then in the long term. Ideally by that 12-month mark, if not before. 12 months is where my goal is, but I want it done before, just to kind of be clear on that. I want us to be able to buy back and burn a surplus compared to tokens that are minted each day, week, month, etc. If I can facilitate that, then I can directly manipulate the circulating supply at any time. I can allow it to get a little bit diluted to feed that rising floor LMS that we talked about a little bit before. That'll help feed it. Or I can continue just to keep it either literally deflationary by burning a little bit of a surplus, or at least on par with where it is there. So that's all the different strategies that we're looking to incentivize that token price appreciation. And I think that's a relatively new and unique way to look at it, with addition to the different pairs and all these other different aspects that we are going to continue to support the token.
Perfect. Next question then. So we've got Kurt, who asks, what makes ProtocolX different from other rebased tokens?
Multiple things there. That deflationary thing that we just went into is a very key to that. I'm not going to repeat all of that there, but that deflationary mechanism is something that generally isn't seen. We are going to launch with a fully functional and operational DEX. That's usually not the case either. We have some very high-level partnerships, including that with MDB and more to be announced here in the next couple of days. very, very high level stuff that'll be coming out that'll support our growth in the immediate and in the long term. But even more importantly, we are fully doxed. I am the owner of the protocol, the founder and CEO. I will own all contracts, own the website, everything. So therefore, I got KYC'd through Assure because I'm the one that's responsible for all of that could happen there, right? So there's going to be a security aspect. There's going to be massive amounts of transparency, strong tokenomics, great networking via different teams that we're working with, a strong team on our own. I'm telling you, the six members of my team, all of us together, it is a blessing to be able to work with these people. They are so strong at what they do, and these are the things that are going to help us, one, eliminate the greed aspect that we see in DeFi, where you find a project fails and the dev was paying himself 10K a week. That won't happen. We're going to actively target the deflationary components of the mechanisms of our protocol, as well as encourage an environment for actual passive income from a rebase system here.
Cool. Lots of things that make you stand out. So I think that's always really important when launching a new project, particularly when you've seen like all these forks and stuff in the past where everything's been a bit samey. It's really good to see something a bit different. So we've probably got time for just a couple more questions. So I'm going to completely butcher this name, so I'm just not even going to try and say it. But so we have a question that says, MDB and ProtocolX are both awesome projects. I'd like to know how both projects would cause a synergistic growth for each other.
Yeah, so this could be a question for both myself and the Godfather, but with us creating an LP with the MDB token, obviously if you guys know about MDB, that's going to encourage that token LP value because it's a deflationary mechanic token, right? So that's a very positive thing for us both. We'll also look to invest just a piece of the treasury into there, which will obviously accumulate growth, but it also builds that actual financial trust within each other here. So I've talked with the Godfather quite a bit. I've talked with Mina quite a bit. We've done multiple AMAs. I have the utmost faith in how they're operating this project over here and this business in a sense, and the ideas that they bring to the table. So I think even beyond all the tokenomic benefits and the strategic benefits, there's just a level of networking here with good teams, with strong morals, with strong, compasses here that are focused on success and on the community simultaneously. So I think with us working together, even just while we're in the pre-sale stage, our pre-sale doesn't start till tomorrow and we don't go live till next week. We have still helped with each other in just the basic development and growing just as people, but also as, project operators here as well. And the Godfather, if you have anything to add, I'd be more than happy to listen.
Yeah, and I think the MDB Plus alliance. So MDB Plus is the pair that is the token that we pair 40% of our LP to MDB Plus, have done for a long time, and it's one of our secret sources really to the performance that we've had versus what you've seen in the industry. Clearly, ProtocolX, pairing to MDB Plus then hedges against sort of any downside risk of any other potential pair, but it also has an appreciating impact. So if MDB Plus appreciates at an average of 30% over a year, then the portion of the LP that's paired to it will just naturally appreciate as well. So now there's no cost for that. It doesn't take anything away from ProtocolX, but clearly, them using it as a pair also then drives volume through it, which is good for everybody else that also uses it. So it's an alliance in the truest sense, and but there's also then opportunities to arb between the two pools that you've got, which then generate passive income. That also then is a passive income. We use it, regularly, and we use it to buy back and burn our own tokens as well. So there's a number of different things like that. But also, to shout out Ego, we've a little bit of alpha for people. We put in $5,000 into their bot a few weeks ago. It's performed at a net rate of about 7% in 2 weeks, and we've just upped that test to $25,000 ourselves. And yeah, if it continues to perform the way it is, then it's going to be fantastic for ProtocolX because they're already, dead set on a significant chunk in there. And if it continues to perform as it is, then we'll also be making significant moves, and there's some crossover there with our strategy with Infinity as well. So I think an alignment of values and organisations that want to do the right thing, I think is it's probably a really good summary that Shiblord said.
Cool. thank you. Two really good answers. Yeah, I think actually in this space, seeing these partnerships, and they're happening everywhere, I think it's, definitely the dawn of a new era, shall we say, where projects are actually pushing each other up, which I think is super interesting and obviously really good for investors as well. So Shiblord, we'll have to cut it there. We are on our time now, but thank you so much for joining us. If you've got any time to stick around and answer questions in the AMA question channel, there were a couple more for you that we didn't manage to get around to. But otherwise, yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you guys. You guys are doing great things over here. Appreciate the time and look forward to talking to you guys in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. So next we have